Yo, yo, this is it. I'm Mr. Fade, and you'll listen to Attack of the Beats. IllMuzik.com. 5 beats, 5 reviews. And this week we got the... next week there's the Beat This competition. I'm going to announce it. I think it's tomorrow I'm announcing that. So make sure you get ready for that stuff. It's going to be interesting. And yeah, that's about it. So let's get into it right away. First up, we got Datatrox. Is that how you pronounce it? A quick one. Let's check it out. All right. Okay, so that was Datatrox with Quick One. Now, obviously, it's called Quick One, I guess, because you just push it out quickly, get over with, whatever. But it was only 52 seconds long, so I wish it had been, something a little longer because, you have this big, long intro and all that. So it's kind of hard to judge that. But, as far as the intro itself, just get rid of that. I would just totally get rid of that. It's not needed. It sounds very cartoonish, that intro, so... I wasn't crazy about that at all. But when the actual beat comes in, I see where you're going with it. I could definitely see somebody with some vocals on top of it. But I think the main thing is the high pitched sounds that you have just need to be tweaked. Because sometimes when you're doing something like that with a synth, you go if you go too high in the upper range. It's kind of ear piercing, you know what I mean? I did that, years ago. I made a mistake like that with some strings, and I was going a little too high and stuff. I was in the right range, that I wanted to be in, as far as the sound I was going for. But I was just way too high up. I just should have brought everything, down a little more and stuff. So in your case, I'd like to hear it. If you just bring it down a few notches, bring the pitch down a bit or whatever. The low end, the 808, just try to compress it somewhat. It's a little too heavy, and then just extend it. I want to hear more of that because I definitely hear. It's not my style of beat, but definitely I can hear something happening with this with some vocals. But definitely try to bring down that pitch a bit because that's the main thing. It's not just that it's so high up in an octave, but it's just that it's the sound of it, it's piercing and stuff, and that's the thing. When you're using certain instruments, you got to be careful of how you're playing it and all that. If you think about, let's say a guitar, for example, there's a certain range that they're playing, but you go really, really high, it just changes the whole dynamics of it. It doesn't sound too pleasant and all that. So in your case, just bring it down, make those little changes and all that, and that's about it. All right, so next up we've got D.I. Prod with Sark. Let's check it out. All right. Okay, so that was the DI Prog with Sark. Now for this one, obviously you got that out-of-tune sound and everything. Everything sounds very out-of-tune. And the thing with that, though, is that the whole beat, it just sounds to me like it's some sort of like an interlude or something, right? Some kind of interlude, maybe a breakdown or whatever. Because I'm listening to it and I'm thinking to myself, well, how would this fit with some sort of rapper on top of it, right? So first of all, the main thing is, well, the intro was a little too long, but besides that, though, there's no like really good pattern all the way through. You know what I mean? Like I'm listening for a pattern, something. I guess because you don't really have the drums, like a nice like drum pattern going through. It just sounds like it's a little bit all over the place and all that. I just think there should be a little more consistency. Again with the pattern or whatever, and because that way with some rapper on top. At least for them, like let's say you're shopping your beats to some rapper, they're going to want to hear a pattern. They're going to want to have to try to spit on top of this, so they need something to go with. So it's a little hard, for this. That's why I would just use this as like some sort of interlude or whatever. And the low end is a bit heavy. I mean, it's good. It's just that it's heavy, and because of it's matched up with that music that's out of tune. It really brings it out, I find, like it's just very, very heavy. And anyway, I just think that should just be tweaked a bit. And but the main thing is the pattern. I'm not so much concerned about the fact that you have to have this music that's out of tune. I think that's okay and everything, but it's just that I'm just looking for some sort of pattern. And I think that's all needs to be tweaked because that's the thing when you're making beats, especially something like this. It depends on what you're trying to make and what you're trying to do with it. If you're trying to shop beats, trying to sell your beats, well, you got to think about who's buying it, for example, you know what I mean? So in that case, who would want to have something like this? That's what you got to ask yourself. So in that case, for me, I would say use this as some sort of interlude. All right, so next up we've got Ray the Chef with Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. Let's check it out. All right. Okay, so that was Ray the Chef with Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. I really like the drums on this. Really nice drum pattern. It's solid. Sounds punchy. It rolls really well and stuff. Really, really good. I do like the bass line, but it's very, very heavy. So I would just contain that a bit. And as far as the main loop that you have going, with it sounds like some sort of piano, sitar, whatever. It's really good. It's just that the only problem I have is when you cut it off and then you bring it back in. You know what I mean? Because it just it just cuts off abruptly. So it's like it's if you're trying to transition into like that when you have that low end synth sound or whatever, that's okay. But it's just that when you cut it off like that, it's just so abrupt that it's it's just like it kind of takes away from it. So what I like to do for stuff like that is to either at the end part before you cut it off, just to try to change up the pattern maybe and have it maybe delay out, or have it just kind of fade out maybe. And then also the same thing when you bring it back in. Or you can also have like where you just sort of drop out the drums and the bass, and you just have that part just kind of trail off, and then you bring in another sound that, you know, brings the listener to the next part that you're trying to bring in. You know what I mean? It sounds kind of complicated, but anyway, yeah, something like that. So just kind of drop everything off, and then just have that you know, piano or whatever, just have it trail off like a delay or something. Bring in some other sound that's telling the listener, hey, here's the next pattern. You know what I mean? So, and then do the same when you bring it back in. So that's the only thing, is that, you know, I've heard that many times from people where they just kind of, you know, cut off sounds abruptly like that and stuff, and that's okay, but, you know, it depends on what it is. You know, if it's some sort of short sound, but when it's a pattern like that, it doesn't sound that good. You know what I mean? So yeah, just try to transition better into the next parts and all that, and then you'd be good to go. All right, so next up we got Serratos with Melody. Let's check it out. All right. Okay, so that was Serratos with Melody. All right, so I love the drums, the bass. They just gel well together. Not a big fan of when you took out the bass, quickly in the beat at the beginning, but still, it was good all throughout. And nice keys that you have going and everything. And in the background I can hear a bit of like a vocal snippet. I think there was two parts to it. One was a little more subtle. The other one was more like that high pitched, vocal sped up. And I'm not crazy about those, but the other one, the more subtle one, that one sounded really good from what I heard. I mean, it just sounded like it was panned right. That one, I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about. So that one, if you brought that out more in the beat, brought it out, give it some more presence, make it a little louder, I'd like to hear that, because it does sound really nice, very smooth, because the whole beat's very smooth. So I want to hear that a little more just to kind of bring it out a bit, and that'll make the beat even smoother. So I don't know where you're getting that from, those vocals from, but if you could find like maybe another part that's a little longer and try to use that as well throughout. But definitely try that because it is a very smooth beat. And if you have some vocals with it like that, some little snippets, that'd be even nicer. So try that and see how it goes. All right, so next up we got the last beat. It's Trap Bradshaw with I Want. Let's check it out. All right. Okay, so that was Trap Bradshaw with I Want. All right, so listening to the beginning with the soul sample that you got, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be on point. It's like, it's so good. It sounds so good. It's just what you did with the sample, I think, was okay. It's just that it was the drums, I think, that just took away from it. Because, first of all, the drums, I mean, that kick is very distorted. So that's the first thing I was like, oh, man, come on. Like, why is it distorted? But, I think also the pattern of the drums. I think if you had, like, a nice, solid pattern throughout, it would bring more life to the beat. Because right now you get those drums, it's just like this like a kind of like, how it is, like you had like a scattered pattern plus the distortion. So that just really took away from everything for me. And then as far as the sample itself that you're using, I think there's so many different things you could do with that, definitely. Because what I would probably try to do is take the vocals from that sample, just use it sparingly here and there, and focus on that background music, and then add something else to it. If you could try to, I mean, that's the hardest thing when you're sampling. If you could try to get samples from different records and try to gel them together, that's hard to do. But when you do it, it turns out beautifully sometimes. Sometimes it depends what you're sampling. But if you could do that, oh man, that'd be really good. So for example, if you have that background music and you bring in, let's say, a piano from another song, and if you can get it in the right tune, you'd be good to go on now. But as far as what you have, I mean, I do like what you did with the sample. It's just that it was the drums. That was the main thing that turned me off from it. But so the pattern and also the distortion of the kick. So yeah. But with that being said, I mean, still it was dope. It's hard hitting. It's just that it's the distortion, especially, that really took away from it. So yeah. All right. So yeah. Okay. So that's it. That's it for me. I'm Mr. Fade. This is Attacking the Beats. Keep sending your beats in. I keep reviewing them. And my favorite beat is, the winner is, drumroll please, Serratos with Melody. Let's check it out.